What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Rydalas, and welcome back to the channel. Wanted to start off by saying thank you for all the support you've shown me this year. It really means the world. And if you haven't yet, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, as it'll really help me out. Season 17 dropped last week, and I'm back today with another tier list video. I'll be talking about some of the changes implemented and how that affects the legend meta. I'll preface by saying my tier list is entirely subjective, and I'm not trying to offend anyone by not placing your main in S tier. And while I'm considering each legend's utility and ranked, this is not an Apex competitive tier list. Hope you enjoy the video. Let's get right into it. First up in D tier is Revenant. Sorry to all my Rev mains out there, and no flame, because as I'm sure is the case for you guys, I just want to see Revenant in a better place. His character design is really cool and he could be really fun to play. But currently his kit is outclassed and just isn't competitive outside of situational engagements. After countless nerfs to his ultimate ability, it's both very loud and doesn't last very long. It needs a lot of team coordination to use to its full potential. And unfortunately, it's like a third-party beacon because sometimes I'll be an entire POI away, see a Revenant ultimate activate, and immediately start running towards it. But obviously in the right hands, it can still be devastating and very impactful. And in my opinion, he's best suited for aggressive players. His bread and butter now is definitely his passive ability, and there's a lot of unique potential for what you can achieve with it if you're an inspiring movement player. If you're a Rev main and are looking for a bit of inspiration, I'd highly recommend checking out Guapi. I'm awestruck every time I watch his content. Next up in D tier, we have Fusey Boy. Another case of really great character design and lots of fun potential, but just outclassed by the kits of most legends on the roster. His passive and tactical abilities are the best parts of his kit, and he can be utilized to pester and grief teams in even the highest elo lobbies. But he's limited by a lack of character mobility, and why he's not higher on my tier list is because his ultimate ability, the Mother Load, is simply put really bad right now. When enemies are captured, it highlights and traps them, but it's really inconsistent because of certain map geometry, and in a lot of cases can be difficult to capitalize on. Coupled with the fact that most players play legends with movement abilities and can easily escape his Mortar Flare, every legend's ultimate ability should at the very least be respected in fights, in my opinion. Hopefully Respawn implements a legend rework for Fuse's ultimate in the future because I would like to see him rise in the meta again. My advice to any Fuse main is to get comfortable playing with weapons like shotguns, for example, so you can conserve room in your inventory to carry more nades. And in my opinion, a viable off-meta team comp could be running Fuse with a Vantage and a Loba. Think about it. Once again, apologizing to all my Octane mains out there. In my opinion, he's also currently D tier. Now don't get me wrong, he's still really fun to play, maybe even the most fun legend. And if we were ranking legends in terms of fun potential, Octane would easily be S tier. His bread and butter is definitely his stim, and he definitely has his utility in certain situations like retrieving banners and being able to outrun teams when escaping from bad situations. And his passive health regen is really nice, but unfortunately his jump pad is now very loud and outclassed by the movement abilities of other legends on the roster. He has a really simple kit that can be effective when utilized correctly, and I'm sure a lot of you have watched movement lords like Stormman or Lemonhead that make him look like he's an S tier legend. Though I will say most of the player base and even some of my friends fall victim to what I like to call Octane brain. I'm looking at you, Wallace. If you're an Octane player, my advice to you is to stay close to your team and stim when fighting your 1v1s. Don't stim so far ahead of your team that you get caught in a bad situation and wonder where your teammates are. Remember that no other legends can move as quickly as you can. Food for thought. Starting off C tier, we have Vantage. Last season I put her firmly in B tier, and as a bit of a Vantage enthusiast myself, I would have liked to place her higher on my tier list. In the right hands, I believe she can be as high as A tier, and she performs really well if you're solo queuing. Though I say that because her abilities don't really benefit the team in a competitive setting as much as they should, which make her more of a niche pick. And because larger maps like Broken Moon and Stormpoint are currently out of the map rotation, she definitely takes a hit, even if she performs really well on Kings Canyon. On some of my Vantage clips, common feedback I've received from viewers is that she's quote-unquote overpowered and shouldn't be able to 2-tap somebody with her sniper. Well, I think that's a valid gripe. 2-tapping someone at any stage of the match involves hitting 2 headshots. If you're not hitting your shots, then her kit is borderline useless. The advice I have for anyone maining Vantage this season is to utilize her passive ability. I've noticed oftentimes players stay aiming down sights in her sniper, but forget that it has a laser. To my point earlier about ultimate abilities being respected, Vantage's ultimate is definitely respected. With that being said, you have to be a little craftier to be able to get effective shots off. Moving on to the next legend I have in C tier, Rampart. Full transparency, Rampart was especially difficult for me to evaluate and place fairly, and the impact she has in any team composition from the best to worst players running her is vast. And on my last tier list video, my ranking of Rampart is what I received the most pushback on. In fairness, she does have some things going for her. She's a great counter pick and can blast through Catalyst reinforced doors with Sheila, where normally it would take 4 melee hits to break. And Sheila is really effective at lasering people out of the sky, so with the addition of evac towers, this may be very useful moving forward. Her amp covers can come in pretty clutch in engagements, and when utilized correctly can really swing a fight, which is a huge benefit. But her passive is essentially a non-factor because LMGs aren't super viable outside of the care package L-Star. And as a control class legend, I feel like she should be better at holding buildings and deterring enemy pushes than she is, especially compared to the other picks in her class. She also just feels clunky and out of place in the landscape of the meta at times, and I'm not trying to be a hater. In my opinion, she has a very high skill ceiling, and to truly excel, I feel like you have to really commit to maining her, and not really play anybody else because her playstyle is so unique. If you're a Rampart main, and in need of some inspiration, I'd recommend checking out the Gaming Merchant and Albrelelli. The last legend I have in C tier is Crypto. I had him ranked higher in my tier list last season, and I still believe in the right hands his impact can't be understated. Personally, I love running with a great Crypto player. But like Rampart, his skill ceiling is very high, and he's widely regarded as the most difficult legend to master on the roster. Why I have him in C tier is because of how difficult he is to play correctly and effectively. Don't get me wrong, in my opinion, in the right hands, he's easily A or S tier. But for the casual player, Seer and Bloodhound remain much more user-friendly options that yield similar results. That being said, there are some aspects to his kit that are pretty cool and unique to him. You can scan beacons remotely, scout how many teams are in the area you're in, retrieve teammate banners remotely, and hit respawn beacons remotely. My advice to any Crypto player out there is to be very communicative and siphon as much information as you can to your squad. And also, coordinate those EMP pushes to be able to capitalize on them. Moving on to legends I have ranked as B tier, and in my opinion B tier means strong, viable, and balanced, just not overpowered. The first legend I have in this tier is Lifeline. She received a couple reworks to her kit last season that really made a difference. Her care package now drops in 8 seconds instead of 14 seconds, and the slow penalty she got when initiating a revive was reduced. And her tactical ability is really convenient for healing the health of you and your teammates. Those factors, along with being in the support class, make her a very viable and fun legend to play in Season 17. I would still like to see Respawn bring back her revive shield, because she hasn't been the same since they removed it a few seasons ago. To my Lifeline mains, my advice would be to be flexible in what role you play throughout a match. And what I mean by that is, be able to anchor the squad at the start of the fight, so you can res your teammates if and when they go down, and then be able to play more aggressively and assume the role of a fragger to buy time for your squad to get healthy. And my advice to anyone picking up Lifeline this season is don't forget you're playing Lifeline. Lifeline! Next up, we have Mirage. It seems like the days of him being the consensus worst legend in the game are getting further and further behind us. And with him being moved from the skirmisher to support class, I have him firmly cemented in the B tier. Who would have thought? Not me. He's easily S tier in terms of fun, and with recent buffs both last season and this season is super versatile and has a lot of outplay potential, especially in lower elo lobbies. I have him ranked higher than Lifeline because of both how his kit can be utilized offensively and because in my opinion his Invis-Res outclasses Lifeline's passive. Sorry Lifeline mains. From my own experience and some of the feedback I've received, I think the playstyle of a good Mirage player would be to incite chaos and be able to thrive in and navigate that chaos. Your objective in any teamfight should be to overwhelm and confuse your opponent and make them uncomfortable. And my advice to anybody picking up Mirage this season would be to pop his ultimate ability often. The cooldown is very fast, so in theory you should be able to use it once per fight, which is a huge competitive advantage. And get creative with it. I've seen some clips of Mirage players emoting in their ultimate to really style on their opponent. All in all, you can do worse than picking Mirage, and I'm happy to see him rising in the meta. The next legend I have in B tier is Gibraltar. I've seen more Gibbies running around in my matches lately, and even though the days of him being a staple meta legend are behind us, he's still solid. His gun shield is pretty insane and allows you to dominate poke fights at range, and along with his fortified perk where he takes 15% less damage and isn't slowed by bullets, he's a tank and really difficult to knock. And his ultimate ability is still devastating and will definitely help you win some endgames. Why he's had a bit of a fall from grace over the past few seasons is because his bubble is now hard countered by the abilities of Mad Maggie, Seer, and Crypto. But it's still very useful for protecting yourself or your squad when trying to reset in the middle of a fight. My advice to any new Gibby players is to be mindful of his massive hitbox and play more cover than you think you need. He's a big boy. And to my Gibby mains out there, if you don't already, bubble forward. Take it from me, there's few things more intimidating than an aggressive Gibby player bubbling forward and running at you. Closing out who I have ranked in B tier is the newest addition to the roster, Ballistic. I try not to look at other people's tier lists before I make my own, but I have come across some differences in opinion on where he falls in the meta. For me, I think the top of B tier is fair. Tactical ability is actually not overpowered like most of the community thought it would be, but it's not underpowered. You can lock onto opponents before firing it, and you can shoot it while unloading a clip to secure a knock in a 1v1. It can even be used as a zoning tool, just like an Ash Tether, and his passive ability allows you to carry a third weapon, which is pretty sick, and allows for a lot of versatility. Feels bad if you're a Vantage or Rampart main though. The best part of his kit is by far his ultimate ability, Tempest. To quickly break it down, when activated, nearby teammates get faster reloads, faster arm move speed, and infinite ammo. It lasts for 30 seconds, and the duration is increased by 5 seconds per kill during the activation period. It affects teammates within a radius of 10 meters, and once they gain the auto-loader effect, they can move beyond the radius while retaining the effect. And last but not least, Ballistic's sling weapon will be equipped and upgraded to gold. Kinda crazy. If you're an M&K player and want to know what quote-unquote roller brain is like, Just run Ballistic and pop his ultimate. That's peak roller brain. I've seen some different takes on what the optimal sling weapon to run is, some saying Devotion or Havoc, others saying a Shoddy, and it often depends. Personally, I'd recommend the R9 in his sling slot. Goated in my opinion. If you haven't yet, I'd definitely try him out. Super fun is an understatement. He's pretty swaggy. Starting off A tier, I have Mad Maggie. I feel like her and Ballistic have pretty similar kits overall, but I gave the edge to her, at least for now. Her entire kit is pretty insane. Her passive allows her to run with a shotgun out with no movement penalty, and she gets a highlight on damaged enemies for 0.8 seconds. Her tactical ability, Riot Drill, allows you to launch and attach a drill to an obstacle and burn enemies on the other side, pretty much like a super versatile thermite grenade. You can get really creative with how you use it, and an example I have is, say you're in a building with multiple floors. If you have a team a floor above you, you can attach it to the ceiling and burn them, and if you have a team beneath you, the same rules apply. Her ult Wrecking Ball releases speed boosting pads that increase movement speed by 30% for 3 seconds and detonates in your enemies. It's pretty versatile and can be used offensively, defensively, or even as a rotation tool. Last season I had her ranked as one of my S tier picks, and why I've dropped her down to A tier this season is because I've been made aware of some flaws she has. My boy K-Dot has been maining her, shout out K-Dot, and to put it simply, he and the ball have a bit of a love-hate relationship. The Wrecking Ball is unpredictable by design. A certain map geometry makes the ball bounce in ways that make no sense and sometimes will even bounce in a different direction than intended, stunning and sending either you or your teammates. And Respawn, if you're watching this, if you off the Heezy someone with your ball, it should immediately stun them. It shouldn't have to bounce first, then hit the opponent in order to inflict the stun effect, just saying. All that being said though, she's still really strong, and a pro tip I have for Maggie mains, if you're aimed down sights and you aim your Riot Drill, the launch path will glow orange to indicate that there are enemies behind the surface you're trying to attach the drill to. The next legend I have in A tier is Newcastle. He was another legend I had in S tier last season, and there are a couple of reasons why I dropped him down this season. Similar to Crypto and Rampart, his skill ceiling is insanely high. I still think he's easily S tier in the right hands, but there are very few players that know how to play him and know how to play him well. His ult allows him to place a wall of cover down for him and his teammates, which is really good in theory, but as time has gone on, I feel like it's only situationally useful, and being that maps with wide open spaces like Broken Moon and Stormpoint are currently out of the map rotation, there isn't necessarily a strong need for it in my opinion. His passive ability, Retrieve the Wounded, and his tactical ability, Mobile Shield, are still insane and really powerful though. Those factors along with being in the support class are why he's still an A tier legend for me. The playstyle of a good Newcastle player is pretty sick in my opinion, and an unconventional tip I have for Newcastle mains is a change in perspective. Don't worry so much about damage output or kill count because impact on the outcome of a match isn't solely defined by those metrics. The way Newcastle affects a game is different, so take pride in that, and let me know if that tip makes a difference for you this season. Next up we have Ashe. Preface with the fact that I'm a little biased, but I definitely think that she's perpetually slept on. The dialogue around her and her kit is that her ult Phase Breach is by far the best part. It opens up a one-way portal to a targeted location with a maximum range of 62.5 meters and stays open for about 15 seconds. Why I think she's misunderstood and slept on, and where I disagree, is that I actually think her passive ability, Marked for Death, is the best part of her kit. Ashe's map screen displays a marker over every death box that is less than 3 minutes old. Additionally, Ashe can interact with the death box of any player, including your own squad mates killed by another squad, to find that squad's current location. A lot is made about the utility of Bloodhound's White Raven, but like I said last season, I would go as far as to say Ashe's passive ability is even better. Hot take. With the newly implemented rank system changes where you're rewarded for a top 10 placement, being able to see where fights are taking place across the map can be invaluable intel as you and your squad decide how to rotate. You can avoid teams altogether and rotate for position, or you can try and predict how squads will rotate and position yourself to gatekeep and essentially ambush them. My advice to my Ashe mains is to look at your map often and ping death boxes for your team. And don't play passively in fights. Ashe's kit is best suited for an aggressive playstyle in my opinion. And whether or not you're an Ashe main, let me know what you think of her heirloom in the comments. I'm curious. Moving on, I have Caustic as my next legend in A tier. Not sure if this is a hot take or a cold take, and some may disagree, but given the landscape, I can't not have him in A tier. I agree with pro players encouraging taking more fights with the new rank system because that's the best way to improve. But if you're simply trying to grind RP and play for placement, nobody is better at deterring enemy pushes than Caustic. To that point, he benefits from being a control class legend, with the ability to scan for the next ring via ring consoles, and the 3 maps currently in rotation are his 3 best maps. I'm predicting that we'll see a lot more Caustics in our games this season. My advice to anyone playing Caustic this season is to play him aggressively. It's honestly pretty fun, especially as a controller player. And if you're on MNK and not entirely comfortable in close quarters fights, I'd recommend putting some time in on him. His kit is really beginner friendly in my opinion, and really forgiving, so maybe he can help you build some confidence in those situations. Food for thought. The last legend I have ranked in A tier is Valkyrie. I'm apologizing in advance to all the Valk mains out there as I know I'll get pushback on this. Her kit is still insane, even after all the nerfs she's taken over the past few seasons. She's She's in the Skirmisher class, but her passive ability marks enemies within 250 meters with a direct and uninterrupted line of sight to Valkyrie while skydiving or using her ultimate. That's insane in and of itself, but she also has a jetpack. I've noticed a lot of the best controller pros main her because it allows for such unique movement, even on roller, and her Q is essentially a pseudo arc star. But let's be honest, the biggest reason why I don't have her ranked higher is the addition of the evac tower survival item. Her ultimate ability is still great, obviously, but she definitely takes a hit in terms of need. All things considered, she's still incredibly versatile and really strong in the right hands. Some fringe S tier picks now in the A+ tier. I made one sub tier as I felt it was essential to categorize a couple legends that I feel are better than A tier, but not quite S tier. And if you haven't noticed, my tier list is heavily weighted in A and B tier unintentionally. That just means that the game is in a good place right now and is progressively moving closer and closer to balance. Kicking off the A+ tier, I have the Space Mom herself, Horizon. She received a couple reworks to her kit in Season 16 that resulted in a lower pick rate. The bullet spread while on her gravity lift was increased, and the vertical speed of the lift was increased by 10%. This may not seem like much, but now it's much more difficult to beam someone while in her Q. But in my opinion, I think she's in a really good place. She's still really good, just not oppressive like she once was. Her ultimate ability, Black Hole, is also really effective in turning the tide of a fight, and her passive ability, Spacewalk, which greatly reduces landing shocks after a long fall, is addicting and my second favorite passive ability in the game. My advice to the Horizon gamers out there is to be creative with how you utilize her kit. You can use her Q to block entryways to slow enemy teams' pushes, and you can even deploy her ult as a form of pseudo cover to pop a bat or go for a res.
Dinna fash yourself.
A bit of a hot take, the next legend I have in this tier is Wattson. She's my second highest rated control class legend because of her skill ceiling and the variety of ways you can utilize her kit. Her fences aren't as much of a deterrent as Caustic's barrels, Catalyst spikes, or to a certain extent Rampart's walls, but are still enough to deter enemy pushes. Just make sure if you're running Wattson and don't have a lot of experience playing her, you place fences down often and use them to show presence. She hasn't received any changes or reworks to her kit that I know of, but like some other legends, with how the landscape has changed around them, they've gradually risen in the meta. The best part of her kit is her ultimate, the Interception Pylon. When placed down, it absorbs everything from grenades, tacticals that inflict damage, and even airstrikes, rendering them all useless, while also recharging the shields of you and your team. In my opinion, with the current map rotation, changes to the rank system, and the addition of evac towers, running Wattson in any team comp will prove invaluable with the ability to take space and her ultimate aiding in surviving the inevitable countless third parties. And my advice to any Wattson main is to always carry ult excels and to place your gen down in every gunfight. And if you're looking for a bit of inspiration, I'd highly recommend checking out Lamek. Next up, we have Bloodhound. They got a rework to their kit last season with the addition of White Ravens that fly in the direction of enemy teams when interacted with. Their tactical ability, Eye of the Allfather, now only gives a full body scan for 1 second instead of 3 seconds. And this one is kind of significant. I'd recommend calming when you're going to scan because sometimes if I'm not in the middle of a fight and entirely engaged, I'll miss the highlight of enemies. Their ultimate, Beast of the Hunt, was reworked, and it no longer recharges or speeds up the cooldown of Bloodhound's tactical and instead will launch a White Raven in the direction of the nearest enemy. Honestly, that's pretty substantial and kind of sucks if you're a Bloodhound main, but probably better for the health of the game overall. The pro tip I have is if you see a White Raven, you can hit your Q to scan it and it'll serve as an interact while also recovering 25% of your tactical and ultimate charge. I've seen some pro teams running a Bloodhound Mad Maggie Ballistic team comp, so they are still very strong and viable and you can't go wrong running them this season or in future seasons. Wall hacks will always be wall hacks. Need I say more? The final legend I have ranked in A+ tier this season is Wraith. Wraith mains rejoice! And shout out all the bald Wraiths, you know who you are. Last season I had her ranked in A tier, but after seeing how impactful her portal is now after the buff she received last season, and with her best maps being the ones in rotation, both for ranked and for pubs, I've bumped her to the top of A+ tier. With what her kit offers, she's probably the best solo legend, but now more than ever, she also offers a lot of utility to any team. When utilized correctly, she can move her team from point A to point B and out of bad situations, not to mention the potential ceiling for outplays. Wraith also has a very small hitbox, which makes a bigger difference in fights than you would think. And obviously her tactical ability Into the Void is the best part of her kit by far. Why I don't have her ranked higher is because while her tactical ability is great for repositioning and escaping, it not being instant and having a delay can make for some misexecution and lead to the stock, sweaty Wraith disconnecting from a match. And let's be honest, she still doesn't really have a passive ability. A tip I have for Wraith players is to be mindful of how you position yourself in fights or when scouting. There's decreased danger when you're in the open provided there's nearby cover to retreat to. All things considered, I think Wraith is in a really good spot right now, and she's excellent at what she does well. Moving on to the legends I've placed in S tier, which I consider to be unequivocally the best legends in the game this season. I would even say there's a case that can be made for each of them being the best legend in the game. That being said, the first legend I have in S tier is Pathfinder. He's currently the most popular legend by pick rate, and that's no coincidence. He's always been good, but after a couple reworks to his kit last season, he's now really good. He benefits the most from being in the Skirmisher class. Every time he scans a care package, his ultimate is fully recharged, which is pretty nutty. If you're playing a Skirmisher legend and running with a Pathy, let them scan the package because it benefits them and the team more. That's not an opinion, that's a fact. And hot take, I'd say he's now the best team movement legend in the game and even outclasses Valkyrie in that regard. Never thought I'd say that, but here we are. And despite his high skill floor and him being a skill-based legend, his grapple is an ability that's unique to him and allows players to play in a way they wouldn't be able to on any other legend. Advice I have for any Pathfinder main is to subdue your horniness, so to speak. Only Octane with his stim can keep up or outrun a Pathfinder that's grappling around. A wise man once said, with great power comes great responsibility. The time is now for Pathy mains. The next legend I've placed in S tier is Catalyst. It's a big bump up from where I rated her last season, but how strong she is can't be ignored. She's my top rated control class legend, and unlike her peers in that class, she's incredibly versatile and doesn't have to commit to playing a building to be effective. With that being said, she's still incredibly effective at playing buildings, with all the outplay potential her passive ability Barricade provides. That in tandem with her tactical ability, Piercing Spikes, poses a huge problem for enemy teams. Her ultimate Dark Veil is what makes her special in my opinion. She raises a wall of ferrofluid that blocks her squad from view and temporarily slows anyone who passes through it. It can be used defensively to cut line of sight, is a good team rotation tool, and can even be used offensively by splitting enemy teams and singling players out. Unfortunately, Respawn still hasn't fixed how Seer's ultimate ability works in tandem with it, and hopefully they do soon because it's pretty cheese. Advice I have for people playing Catalyst this season is to pay attention to her piercing spikes in close quarters engagements. They also function as a proximity alarm and will react when an enemy player is close. In my opinion, the current legend meta values versatility, and that's why I believe Catalyst is firmly cemented as a staple meta pick because of what she offers as a quote-unquote defensive legend. The next legend I have in S tier is everybody's favorite legend, Seer. I still find it hilarious that some creators were placing him as low as C tier to start last season, claiming scam meta was dead. I'll take. I think Respawn took some steps in the right direction when reworking his kit in Season 16, but more needs to be done to kick him off the mountaintop. After playing him a little bit, and in total fairness, I definitely think maximizing his kit and being timely with his Q is a lot more difficult than it looks or people give it credit for. So to all the Seer mains out there, I'm sorry, and I see you, but I think the community as a whole is just jaded. Even with a rework and essentially nerfs to his kit last season, his abilities are still insane. With his Q, he can cancel revives, use of healing items, and provides a 1.25 second silence, which prevents the use of legend abilities and canceling those already in progress. And, to top it all off, affected enemies' health bars are revealed to Seer's entire team for 8 seconds. His ultimate ability, Exhibit, creates a 35-meter sphere, inside of which enemies that are walking, sprinting, or firing a weapon are tracked with a marker. Advice I have for anyone fighting a Seer team, if you're crouched, you're not revealed in Seer's ultimate. And advice I have for anyone playing Seer this season is to always be scanning with his heartbeat sensor for threats and for rats. Wall hacks, baby! Need I say more? Shout out all my loot goblins. The next legend I have in S tier is the loot queen herself, Loba. The utility of her passive ability, Eye for Quality, which allows you to see concealed epic and legendary items, and her black market can't be denied. I think on maps like King's Canyon and World's Edge where the loot pool is pretty garbage, she's even more valuable. A competitive advantage is a competitive advantage, and having a better shield and or weapon than your opponent is a huge advantage. What cements her as a great pick, in my opinion, is her character mobility as a support class legend. With the addition of classes, the support class perk allows you to craft teammate banners if their banners expire entirely after being eliminated. And a change they implemented this season is that so long as there is a support class character on the team, anybody can craft banners. That's honestly huge, and I think she may be the best option on the roster for someone who primarily solo queues because of what her kit offers. Now, I'm going to reiterate what I said last season. It's so easy to tell a good Loba from a bad one. My advice to the Loba mains out there is to remember we're playing a shooting game and not a loot simulator. Her kit isn't simply a tool to be a loot goblin, but a means to loot very quickly and start fighting so you can flex the competitive advantage of having better loot than your opponents. Food for thought. Arguably the best legend in the game once again this season is Bangalore. I'm not biased, you're biased. Like I said earlier, in my opinion, the current legend meta values versatility, and there's no legend more versatile than Bangalore. If you don't believe me, I implore you to go solo queue into some matches right now. I'd be willing to bet that every other game you'll have a random Bangalore on your team. That being said, it might be the easiest to tell a good Bangalore from a bad one. On the surface, she has a pretty straightforward kit, but there's a big skill gap to utilizing her kit effectively. Misexecution looks like blinding your teammates with your smoke if they don't have digital threats, stunning your teammates and preventing pushes by misusing your ult offensively, or just getting knocked because you think double time will save you from all threats. Advice I have for all my Bangalore mains out there would be to really prioritize being a good teammate. Monitor the health of your teammates and use your kit as needed for zoning and for deterring third parties. With Kings Canyon back in rotation, this will be more crucial than ever in my opinion. Overall, she's incredibly fun to play and fits a variety of playstyles. Let me know in the comments if you're a fellow Bangalore main. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed it. The last thing I'll say is remember that the meta is always changing in Apex Legends. If your main isn't widely accepted as a meta legend, that's okay. Your time will come. What I love about the game, despite all its flaws, is that there is a legend for every playstyle, so continue to play who you like and whoever's the most fun. Any legend is S tier in the right hands. Feel free to drop a comment, let me know who you're maining this season and what your ideal team comp is. Hopefully this tier list helps you, and I'll see you in the next one.